After I had never ridden in an airplane before jumping, jumped 7 times, and when I finally rode an airplane that made a landing, wow, this is the way it ought to go. It's not quite as bumpy. And
well, so you got to Missoula hitchhiking, and then what happened? You remember what those first days were like, and how you were received or treated, or
well treated. And I wish I could remember the guy's name that was smart enough to come up with some available manpower that weren't all yellow bellies. And so we were well accepted. They immediately put us to work on trails. And we needed it to get in shape.
Well, were you in the first group, like when they were down around 100, or were you in when they got to be a larger number?
I don't think so.
Okay. So you were probably 1945?
I would have thought 43.
Oh, really? Okay.
But you may be right.
Well, I don't know. No, just what you remember.
Yeah.
But it was a going operation when you got there.
Yeah. It was.
Did you work with any of the black paratroopers from the 555th?
No, but we thought the Indian firefighters were probably as good as we were. They had pretty well established the method of building trails by the time I got there, and the last man who felt the trail was deep enough and wide enough would say up, and they'd all just trade jobs right up, and the one who was leading just had an axe and really essentially determined the route.
And this was for actually building trails, not fire line, but trails. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Do you remember where you built some of those trails? Remember some of the areas, or?
No, I don't.
Okay. Was the when you checked in? Were you there in Missoula or out at 9 Mile, or where were you? What was it like? What was the place like?
We started at Missoula and then went to 9 Mile. I don't remember much about 9 Mile, but that's where we went after spending time in Missoula. I remember sleeping out in the backyard because it was grassy, and I was used to sleeping outdoors and loving it.
Yeah. Where had you done that before when you were younger? Slept outdoors and been outdoors working?
No, but the family went camping on vacations.
I see.
So it was all part of the camping experience.
So when you got to Missoula, it was in the summertime?
Yeah.
And then did you just stay through the year, through the winter months too, or how long did you stay there?
I went on furlough after the pressure was on for jumping, and when I came back, my boots had been stolen, and they had diminished in size so much that I was notified I wasn't needed in Missoula anymore, or in Smokejumping. So,
so the jumping part of it. So you trained for a couple of weeks, or how long did you train to jump? Do you think?
I would guess 2 weeks.
And then how many training jumps did you have? Do you remember that?
7 training jumps,
Okay.
And then after that, 7 fire jumps.
Okay. And do you remember your first parachute jump?
I kind of think so. There was no problem. I knew I was supposed to get scared. And as a kid, my brother and I had made these little balsa wood airplanes.
Uh-huh.
And his were beautiful. He was a year and a half older, and he was meticulous, became a doctor. And they were beautiful little contraptions. Mine weren't. They were just stuck together. But mine flew, and his didn't always fly. Let's see, what was your question?
So you do you remember your first jump or any of your training jumps? Anything unusual or memorable about them?
Yeah. The last training jump, we aimed for a circle. And one other jump I kind of remember. I'll come back to that. Anyhow, I came down in a tree and landed pretty close to the circle, probably about 6 foot off the ground is where I came to rest. And so it was pretty simple, you know, to release myself. And I don't think I even used a rope. And just, it was an information I've used ever since. I maintain us old folks, 80% of us are going to fall, me included. And you ought to know in advance how you'd like to fall. And that is, use all your muscles for shock absorbers and roll.
Yeah.
And I figure any older adult that I tell that has a better chance of doing it if he's thought of it in advance. And
have you used it yourself?
oh yeah.
As you've been older, you've used it?
Oh, I fell in here. You see all the cardboard around on my chairs and so forth?
Right.
That's because I felt toward the chair. But my argument with older people is we were told terminal speed was 120 miles an hour, free fall. And how fast do you think? The speed of electricity, of light. And so I practiced what I preached, and I aimed toward a sofa. And so I glanced off the corner, didn't hurt me at all, fell on the sofa. Here in I've tried to arrange my room so there's something to hang on to everywhere I go. I'm not as steady as I used to be. And you see the cardboard. The cardboard will give more than I will. And so I try to protect myself too.
That's good. That's great. So the other, you had another thought about your training jumps. There was another training jump you were going to go back to.
Yes. We did a training jump, and the buddy I jumped with landed on a barbed wire fence. And you remember the jump suits they gave us?
Yeah.
With the strap
The stirrup.
across and down.
Yeah.
It was so soft, he just bounced and fell off the side. Well, he was very disappointed at that. And so he wanted to go experience a real jump. and he jumped off of one of the towers, not the highest part. I think it was a 9-foot level, and he broke his ankle, and his first jump was his last jump.
Oh man, that's bad.
Yeah. Well, I never was scared because we made these little airplanes, and part of it was making parachutes. You remember tying the strings to the handkerchief?
Sure.
With a rock on the end, wrapping it up and throwing it up. We did a lot of that, and so actually making the jump was just part of the game.
Well, I'm curious, where did you come to hear about smoke jumpers? I mean, you're in the early 40s and you're in the eastern part. When did you first hear about it?
While I was working in the Veterans Mental Hospital. But the government gave us quite a list of possible places to volunteer to work.
Oh, okay.
The most popular place to the government was federal and state mental hospitals. And my understanding is that conscientious objectors were of a quality. They changed, they improved wherever they went. Well, I went to the Lyons, New Jersey Veterans Mental Hospital. I was asked to leave there because the